That's not even a good angle of this. I don't feel
No,
like
I think that's what I feel like that's his warm up, but it's still massive.
But I think that if you were like that later, I watched some from behind the takeoff ramp, like looking at him go off the takeoff ramp, and it was ridiculous.
He's sometimes like he's going so slow into the ramp too, like with that start. It's kind of crazy.
And then he just drops his elbow real hard and squats down.
Look at that. Suron boy going. Doesn't that look more than 80 or 75 on the Suron?
What's up, everybody? Clint Esposito here with the Two Wheels to Freedom show. We're going to watch Rahville, Colby setting 2 world records. What I have. Raw with my man here, Skranny. What's up, Skranny?
What's up, you guys? Happy to be on Clint's show.
Well, right now it's our show.
Happy to be on our show. Let's go. I'm even more motivated now, Clint.
There you go. I know how to get the
open up more.
I know how to get the people going.
No, it's your show, buddy.
No, I know you're fun to talk to all the time, so
I appreciate that. That's the energy I try to put off. I'm not fun all the time. You talk to my old lady, and she'd be like, I don't know about that.
Well, we can't be on all the time.
Yeah, exactly. We can't be 100% all 100% of 100% of the time.
No, exactly. Just 100% of the time in front of people that don't actually know you that well.
Oh, hey, Clint. You're bringing me back right now. My eyes are getting dusty. I have like dust in my nose. Oh, we're not at Rahville.
Oh, you are mentally now.
Man, I was there mentally. My eyes are crusted. My voice was like hoarse. There was dirt and tumbleweeds in my eyes. And then I'm like, oh, dang, he just took me there virtually.
Virtually, here you are. I did turn the sound down on everything on this, though, so you're not going to get to experience it. The audio was pretty windy originally, but
hey, as one could imagine. I can't even believe that event actually went off as well as it did in the wind.
Yeah. So who was that again on the Talaria or whatever, throwing big whips?
Dude, that was Levi Ferris, and that's the first time I've ever met that kid. And like, I believe your brain was just blown as mine was. That was honestly, that's some of the most impressive stuff I've seen on a 75 ramp to dirt. Honestly, like I have seen a lot of cool stuff in the last 20 years. Think about that, 20 years of freestyle. That's crazy. The things that longer even, like 30 years, and then you go along and you see a Suron hit 75, let alone flip it. It's kind of weird.
Bolts directions totally backwards.
I don't get it, dude. It's honestly that thing that's lighter than a 125 and it has less power.
Right here.
Unbelievable, really. That kid's unbelievable. You know what's crazy? Looking back at this footage too, Clint, is like I was running the microphone, so a lot of time I'm not really paying attention to too much, but like I'm like, geez, that kid is cranked.
And I think a lot of the thing with the electric bikes is not shifting and being able to get that kind of RPMs out of the wheel.
Like centrifugal force kind of deal?
Yeah, like, so have you ever heard the story of like supercross racers like getting bucked endo and then shifting up again and getting themselves out of it? I heard that with Todd Potter as well. I heard I heard he got stuck upside down in a flip and shifted to third and was like, brrr, and brought it around. And I'm like, to not panic and be like, I'm just going to shift to third is pretty impressive.
Hey, Todd Potter is one of those guys we don't get talk about enough because he's such an old school guy, so back in the sport, old school. But that guy, honestly, like, to me, he's like one of the outstanding legends in free ride. Like one of the most talented dudes ever.
I 100% agree with you because I've also been to a lot of events and seen a lot of people ride. And I was at a dew tour, and Potter is riding around the course like it's a BMX park, and like riding up the ramps, endoing, faking out of stuff, and like popping over stuff. And I'm like, this guy can do whatever he wants on that bike right now.
and the skills like a lot of people get praised for it, such as like Jimmy Hill, Axel, and stuff, for having those back wheel, front wheel, manuals, wheelie like skills. Todd Potter, literally, you put him in a circle with those guys, and he's shutting those guys down at that stuff.
Dude, 20 years ago.
20 years ago, and like, and now he doesn't get talked about it enough. Like we hang with the same people, like Jay and those guys. No one's talking about how badass of a flipper Potter was, literally. So like the only guys that are getting credit are now like, oh, Rahville setting records for doing flips and stuff. I don't get me wrong, Rahville's the king, he's the man, and AG's the man, but I personally haven't seen more technical flips out of one human being than watching Todd Potter.
No, he definitely.
Glenn Helen X Fighters was mind blowing to me.
I just watched. Did you go to that?
Yeah, I was I went there with Chuck, and I swear I left there with the craziest feeling. I'm like, that guy is unreal.
Yeah, that happened.
Flipped that step up.
That was a Potter course, though.
Very true. Very true. That was Potter made that course basically. I'm pretty sure with his tractor. I mean, he was part of the tractor crew, but dang, it's still impressive.
Yeah, for sure. I don't care if you built it or not.
And then looking back at this, we're just going through here. I took us to the freaking Potter land, but look at the new talent out. There's so much new talent out there of guys that actually first time meeting was at Rahville.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys whip like Potter did when he was winning X Games, and it's like we were just hearing of them.
That wasn't the first time in person you've seen Patrick Evans whip, was it?
Yes.
What was your very first time? Like, I've seen it on the internet all day long on the internet, and I'm like, that's unbelievable. But then the first time I actually saw it at an event, at a competition, no joke, it might have been the most insane thing I've seen on a dirt bike.
Well, I'll go one further. That knack whip, one-handed he's doing, completely upside down, blew my mind. Like what in the world is going on? How are you not just coming off of that?
I don't understand how. I don't even understand how he got to that point of like, okay, I'm going to learn this, and this is going to be my technique, and I'm basically just it's like threads on just hanging on a old sweater. He's just there.
We need to find. I wonder if I have one of those knack. I want to say flips because he's completely friggin' upside down, but it's a one-handed knack.
You might as well say flips because he's so inverted that it basically is a flip. He's on a completely different level with that stuff, and it's tough. It's tough to be like you and I were judges of it, and it sucks for the rest of the guys because it's like we're judging second place and on.
Yeah,
okay,
even when we were there's Derek back flickering.
Derek back flipping. Can you believe that guy? Hey, honestly, Clint, let's speak on this real quick. How long ago do you think let's put an exact date? How long ago do you think Beckering should have been flipping?
Bro,
realistically,
10 years ago.
He's literally. I don't think that there's anybody. He's such a talent on flipping in general and flipping on a trampoline, flipping scooters. He flips BMX, flips mountain bikes, and then the only thing he never flipped was a dirt bike. And it was like we would go out to the foam pits, these makeshift foam pits out in the hills, and we do the mini flips and stuff. And
he's just perfect with all of them. That's so
around every time on it. Okay, let's take the dirt.
I was with him last summer at the Jersey Fair. I was jumping the Harley, and he's riding. Well, now I feel punked because basically I've never jumped as far as Colby's only jumped on a Harley. My landing is much smaller. I will say that.
Hey, we'll still continue down the Beckering road because I want to hear about this. But also, you had competition. Literally, speaking of Rahville's event, the world record holder, the current world record holder. I'm saying quotes, so I don't know if this is true. he drove from Bakersfield. His name is Chucky. He's like, hey man, Skranny, that guy, he's doing. I have the record. I should be doing this. And I'm like, dude, this guy's been doing it forever. Clint, like, it's honestly your jumps on the Harley. Like we're stoked me out so much. I was like, Clint's doing the right thing over there because on the East Coast guys, like you're giving them a show that they'll never see in their whole lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to, at least it's the, like, you're not going to, honestly, I'll tell you the whole thing with this. I don't know how much I can explain without giving too much away. I was somebody, Freeman brought up doing the world record with the Harley because of an event that he was thinking of. And I never even thought of it or brought it up, really. He was like, hey, we need somebody to do a Harley record. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So it wasn't even necessarily my idea to be like, I want to do it. But I'm sure that got to Colby. And then Colby just had a bike made and built this big landing and just went like right after it right away. And I'm like, damn, man, I never even...
His original idea, I know the original idea. So like Jay and him had this idea to where like they start working up to like 150, get it up to like 200 on his regular bike.
Yeah.
And then
no, they wanted to go overall distance record and dirt to dirt distance record.
Yes, and then I don't know, I don't follow him on Instagram or nothing, but there's a guy who rides Harley wheelies, and he has like 55,000 followers, pretty big account on it. Joey 55, he pops wheelies on Harleys, and I think he got a hold of Rahville, and he wanted to start a Harley building like they build Harleys, and he came to Rahville with that idea basically and said, hey man, let's build you a distance record bike that's similar to your dirt bike, handles like your dirt bike, but can handle large distances. And Rahville was like, oh, okay. And then they started off jumping 80. Then they went to 90. And then he's like, oh, shoot, like we could actually like get close to some of these one-off records.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm the one that like got ball rolling or nothing, but I sent Josh Hill, and Jimmy Hill, both them, to their chicks in a direct message, the world record tandem jump that a brother and sister set in Australia, I believe. It was
the McFerrins, Maddie and Emma McFerrin.
You just nailed it. And the McFerrins, brother and sister, they jumped it from ramp to dirt. They set the record, and then I sent that only to Hill and Jimmy. And then this is just coincidence. Couple weeks down the line, Rahville's like, I'm setting a tandem record with my mom, and I didn't believe him. I thought he was joking.
Well, lo and behold, he told the story. He said somebody had called him a dude. If you look at his stuff on Instagram, one post, he was like, somebody called me and said, do you want to set the tandem distance record? And he's like, yeah, not with you. So then he's like, not with a dude on the back of my bike. So he was like, I'm going to have my mom come on.
That alone was probably the coolest thing that I've witnessed in a long time.
Dude, my mom won't even watch me ride ramps. Like, do you think she's gonna come and sit on the back of the bike, dude? No way.
My dad, I told my dad about it, and he said, would you do that with your mom? All angry. And I was like, no. And he's like, good, because I wouldn't want you putting your mom in jeopardy. It's like, that's pretty crazy that he got his mom to do that, though. Like,
yeah.
I was telling a couple of my buddies, I was like,
well, so hold on, let's get to the footage of it, because right now we're just still in best whip practice.
Oh yeah,
and some people throwing some tricks out there, but
let's go back to the Suron kid, and we'll move on.
There he is, right there. No, we're on Beckering. That's right. So that was the story I was telling. Beckering was with me at the fair, and he's riding big bikes. Then he hops on his... I think I was there the first time he actually flipped his mini bike. He flipped his BMX fine. He had been doing that. He's like, the mini bike. He talked to Austin about it a little bit, and he's like, okay, so he just flips the mini bike perfect. So now he's going in the show from one bike to the other bike. I just played that when nobody will see it. from one bike to the other bike, and I'm like, dude, have you flipped your big bike? And he's like, into a pit. I go, have you ever landed upside down? And he's like, no. And I'm like, you're always to the wheels. He goes, yeah. And I go, what is wrong with you? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, why aren't you flipping this? I'm like, you should be flipping. I go, it's airbag now even. I go, there's 99% chance you go to your wheels.
You just nailed it right there. It's the airbag. It's the airbag era.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the risk is now. The time is now.
You know how much easier mentally it would have been for me to look at an airbag after the foam pit versus
Bro,
like a dirt landing?
I don't want any of my flipping friends to see this, new generation flippers, but dude, I don't have high, like, the guys that were flipping, obviously, like you, Chuck, everybody, the guys that had to do it before all this, like, safety features and stuff like that, you give way 1,000, not even more than 1,000% credit on that kind of stuff, because now guys are literally landing without their bikes to their backs to airbag landers and walking away and having a beer afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable.
I agree. But, you know, it's just the era, like you said. When they first came out, people were like, how do you feel about airbags? You know, expecting me to be tough about it. And I'm like, listen, it's cool to go, I did it to metal and all this shit. I said, but guess what? If there was an airbag, I would have been pumped to ride it.
Dude, good perspective, very cool perspective that you have too, because it's like you're not going to avoid the safety part about it. That's what makes it your career more longevity.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you could, it's easy. So this is basically when everybody was like, it's so windy, we don't think we can do the whip contest. So then Colby's like, I'm going to hit the quarter pipe. Oh, wait, I'm going to go hit the whole line into the quarter pipe. And then tell me you can't do some whips.
Colby's kind of a different breed cat. He's a funny dude. Like, I was even thinking, look at that. Look at the flag right there, Clint.
Dude, the whole time.
On the world's most dangerous feature, in my opinion. Like, I mean, it's world's most dangerous because there's not a whole lot of them. You don't have a lot of access to it. So those who have access to it, like, they're exposed to it. But, like, that quarter pipe is a huge risk in the wind. Look at how big his ramp is compared to that X Games ramp, too.
Yeah. Well, that's a, like, nitro one, right?
Yeah, his big one is the nitro one, and the one they wanted to go in the competition quarter pipe is next to it, the one Broski hits.
Yep.
And they still boost. Like, watch Jason, he's still boosting up on it, but it's just crazy to watch the perspective of the baby. It's literally baby dick versus huge guy. Excuse my language, but dang, look at that. The guy that your girl tells you not to worry about, and you next to him.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about that guy. He's just my friend. And then he's right next to you going bigger.
So here's now the warm-up for the actual contest.
Hey, the warm-up was just as good as the contest, if not better.
That was a big dick contest itself, right? Right off the bat, they wanted to blast some biggies.
Hey, look at that kid. That kid was crushing in Putman. All right, he's only 16. He's from Bakersfield. He crushes it.
What was his first name?
Braden Putman. Putman or Putum. I think it's pronounced Putum, but it's like I say Putnam or whatever. Literally only 16 years old, and he's like Derek's the one that like is bringing into these. Look at that.
Hold on.
He like stands out from the rest.
This kid too. I like Noah as well.
Noah is a great kid, man. He's a nice kid, too. That's the first time meeting him.
All right.
These young, up-and-coming kids, too, it's kind of crazy, Clint. It's like in a flash of an eye, I'm 39, and these kids are like all in their literally 20, 22, 23 years old. And then you got like guys like Beckering's out there, 38.
That's not even a good angle of this. I don't feel like
I think I feel like that's his warm-up, but it's still massive.
But I think that if you were like that later, I watched some from behind the takeoff ramp, like looking at him go off the takeoff ramp, and it was ridiculous.
He's sometimes like he's going so slow into the ramp too, like with that Stark. It's kind of crazy.
And then he just drops his elbow real hard and squats down.
Look at that. Suron boy going. Doesn't that look more than 80 or 75 on the Suron?
Yeah, of course. Now it's like hitting 120 on a regular bike.
That's. I mean, you and I have a feeling like, yeah, obviously, I feel like if the wind wasn't there, that kid might have been like putting himself into contention for a very high podium.
He could have. I would like to have seen all these guys without the wind, but everybody's still. I mean, this is okay. So this is when we're. Yeah, everybody's still throwing down. They did luck out with the direction of the wind. If you're gonna have wind, it's a little bit better than most directions would be, but obviously not ideal at 30 miles an hour, no matter what direction it's going.
What's your opinion on how the format should be? Because I ran the Hill Jam best whips, and they're kind of like they're gnarly whip competition. Super, and then this next whip competition, Colby didn't have like a structure of how he wanted it done. He's like, whatever you want to do, and I'm like, oh, well, I like the time limit jam format to where like everybody's getting a jam session, everybody gets equal. But this, I think we did 3. I think we did 3 jumps each. So it puts a little bit more pressure on the rider.
Yeah. No, I thought that was good. I do think that you need to maybe do the whips individually or something, or have, because
time.
Well, no, what I'm trying to say is a lot of our judging is looking at the different ways that they whip. So if you have one guy that goes really good one style of whip but can't do any other style of whips, then if somebody else is even close to his big style with one of theirs, the similar whip, and then they can do the other side nearly as big, in my head, that guy should win, unless you're judging just one biggest whip.
Well, they need to get your mind involved in judging, because that's exactly how I think that judging for a whip competition should be done, is variety. You're based on the size as well. But like, for instance, Beckering lands 3rd on the podium, might not have the biggest whip, it's the biggest whip competition, but he didn't have maybe the biggest whips out of all the riders to make the top 3, but he had both sides, gave us a variety and different looks at 3 very good whips, very high quality whips, whereas a couple other guys were doing very high quality whips, but only one
way.
variety.
Yeah.
So I think that me and you, our heads were together on that, and not saying anything on Craig. Craig's new to the judging and stuff like that. So the criteria was a different. So our lists were a little bit different.
Yeah, but I think it becomes hard unless you're like, I don't know, with that many guys, it's hard to narrow it down to biggest whip. You know what I mean?
It's got to be obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, like Patrick's were kind of obvious. Wyo's
obvious.
Wyo's getting there though.
Wyo is very much. He's almost on his own little level in his own realm.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the competition was Patrick, Wyatt, and then let's see who could fill out the rest of the win.
Yes. Do you want to listen to yourself here and the wind?
Yeah, and then listen to this, guys. How are they?
We're going to start off the best whip competition presented by.
You didn't even have it.
My bad on that. We got to qualify the top 7. We're going to take 7 riders. It's going to be a jam.
We ended up having a rider. We had a jump off to get that last guy in.
Yeah, because it was close. Because I was pulling for old Noah, and then you guys were like.
I like Noah too, and then like honestly, that kid. I mean, there's a ton of people. Like honestly, one of my favorite styles of rider that crushes it on whips is Christian Dresser, and then if he just focused on his craft a little bit more and just maybe perfected one of his whips a little farther than he actually does, he's in these competitions as a serious threat. He tosses some nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's Becker. I was interested. Colby even hopped in the lineup for a little bit. See what I mean? Dresser, and he throws big whips both sides. That's what I meant. That Seth Lloyd kid from Utah, he is a dog. He impresses me each and every time.
Who was that?
That was Hunter Dyer. He's badass too. There's the whipper. He whips it both ways on that.
Yeah. They are a little bit different, like style-wise. That's more of like a moto into like a turn down, and the other way is like straight turn down.
There's flippering. He's just a consistent, smooth, like no one's smoother on their bike, really.
So this is at the end when Patrick won.
We didn't even have to announce it. Everybody knew that. They're like, damn. Yeah. Like literally you just get crowd reaction and you already know.
Yeah, the crowd reaction was gasps.
Yeah, it's gas. Oh, this is like honestly, this is so impressive to me. It's insane. Look at, he's literally setting records on a telephone pole and some plywood. I'm not kidding. Look at that.
I know. I was there. I helped wedge it in place.
Dude, it's plywood and a telephone pole and his mom.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? Shout out to that crowd for showing up because it was so stinking dusty and windy. It was like honestly like miserable to even be out there unless you're doing something.
Yeah, but he did not disappoint.
Look at that wind on top of the lander on that basically a 500-pound bike. With your mom on it, it's 500 pounds.
Yeah.
And his mom's never jumped more than 15 feet.
But it was like 10 minutes before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I told Raha, I'm like, head down to your local head down to your local fire department, and they have weighted human bags that are like, and strap it on and practice it. He's like, no, she's good. She's just gonna hold on. I'm like, should be good. But that's straight craziness. And look at how the ramp, it even has kind of like, you see that little crease on video. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Because it is, like you said, it is a straight telephone pole with just like a little bit better transition than Knievel's had.
I feel like he literally watched a Cole from SD YouTube channel and was like, you know what? I'm getting highly motivated. And then, dude, they should have just contracted Cole to professionally build that. Because Cole's the man at that stuff. Was that him soloing it?
No. I think that was him
on his mom.
Oh, maybe that was the solo. That was the solo.
This is so ridiculous. Hey, another thing, Clint, he has no security guard. There could be anybody going across that. It was literally the most one-off event ever. Like he's hauling ass down this runway, and there's people crossing it, dogs crossing it. It's like, dude, Colby honestly is a different breed.
Dude, I don't even want to say it to get anyone in trouble. There was no EMTs.
No EMT. No, there was that, dude. It's like, hey, and we're literally 30 minutes away from the next closest town.
I'm sure. It's 15 minutes just to get off of that dirt road. Here he comes with his mom on the back.
It's like, Mom, just hold on tight.
Hold on tight. Squeeze with your knees.
Honestly, that's the, like, on paper and when you're viewing it, it's like, that's cool, but you just had to been there because it's so crazy.
There's the second one.
Look how sideways the back wheel is trying
That's
to get
why
on.
I ran over to the landing for the second one.
God.
You can hear it in the raw footage. You can hear his tire slide.
It goes.
Yeah, let me turn that
I
one
can hear
up.
it right now.
Let me
And
turn
look
it
at
up.
everybody's reactions. A few people's reactions are like, did he just do it?
All right, here, it's going to be up.
Raw's mom has officially gone bigger than some guys have ever gone.
Yes, 100%.
That's kind of crazy if you really think about it.
Listen to that again.
My gosh. Man, that's a different perspective than
That's a 20-foot skid down the landing with the back wheel for sure.
That's just honestly the funniest thing.
Here's my question. Where are the second pair of feet?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is funny, dude. Look at he's basically sitting on his mom's lap.
And he's got his foot on top of hers as well.
He's sitting on his mom's lap. Colby had a plan there. And dude, it's so crazy. And his mom stitched that suit up herself. I love the fact that she did that.
Did you see my jacket? I showed you my jacket. I stitched that on.
Oh, yours is sick too.
That's awesome.
That's what you guys need to do. You guys need to continue doing this thing. The only thing was that was missing from this show was just because the wind was the firewall. That's the crowd would have been just as hype as that as they would to see the mom floating in the air.
Yeah, they do like the firewall an abnormal amount.
Bakersfield Speedway does the firewall, and I'm not kidding. The whole crowd is standing up, throwing beers afterwards.
Yeah, you got to put enough gas on it, though.
Yeah. It has to be on fire.
A lot of fire, yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty lame.
And then check it out, Clint. It's so funny. No regulations, no anything. You could literally let's just put 16 guys on the lander.
Yeah, dude. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. I'm like, at least most people were standing on the side where the wind was blowing away from.
And so I'm like, up there, but I thought about it too. I'm like, what a bunch of idiots we are. Why don't we just sit down? There's no point being here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Too much wind. You can't hear what he's saying anyway.
For the amount of wind and the dust that was going on, it's just super impressive to me that Colby even goes for those. He wanted to go for those. Like, you would want the conditions to be perfect.
Well, better than this.
Better than that, especially with your mom on back and then going for this record. You're like, okay, well, we'll save that for a different day. And then they moved the ramp back. And then I wish we had a video, like you could probably see it right there, but like how they raised the ramp, they're literally sitting on 2x4s.
Yeah.
You can literally kick the base out as he's going off.
Well, it's long enough where like because I saw that my camera dropped down for a second here. See if you can see the feet. So yeah, they had a marked which piles of wood went where.
Oh, there's an inside perspective that I didn't have on that.
Yeah, because I was helping them stack them when they pulled it back because they had to lift it up to get some of the wedges in to get it like a little more stable. But the thing is, it's so heavy and it's so long, that it would really have to be very unstable to like fall over.
Tell me this, Clint. Do you think we set the world record? I think 3 world records were set out there. Distance record for a Harley, close to it. The tandem record. And then I think most amount of male human beings in one area with black sweaters on.
I don't know. X Games in the early 2000s was probably a rival, but...
Look at those black sweaters, man.
All right, this is the NAR one.
Oh, my gosh, dude. That's a good angle.
I know what I'm doing.
I thought Chuck's angle was good.
I know when stuff's going to go wrong and where to be.
I thought Chuck's angle was good. This is better. That was more sketch. And, dude, Look at the barb. Let's get rid of the barbed wire on the side. That guy's an animal. He's
All right, look.
He's getting sideways in the dirt on the landers, and there's literally barbed wire. He can be sliced in half.
So he literally just comes up on the knuckle, and it's because he's got some stock ass shocks on the back. He got a good little kick. Decided to look at his front tire, give his front tire a good inspection right here. He was like, "Yep, fully inflated."
He's like, and then he's giving a dirt sample with his left little dab. He's dabbing the dirt real quick.
So now here's the second one. So I was filming him. I stopped filming, and then I looked back over, and he was still sliding, like, towards the fence, like, fighting it off. And I was like, oh, I should have taped all of that. It was either
the camera rolling.
It was either that one or this one, but in one of them, I was filming, zoomed in, stopped recording, turned around, turned back, and he was still, like, careening towards the barbed wire fence, like... Let's watch the second one now.
This is the one he goes to dirt, correct?
Yes.
Look how far he jumps. Wow. He almost goes to...
There you go. This is the one he was... Look how fast he's going towards the fence. Oh, I went the wrong way. Look how fast he's like heading right towards the fence. He's turning. And I turned like this, shut it off, and turned back on, and he was still, and turned back around, he was still sliding.
It's almost like a cartoon.
Okay, look where his front wheel almost lands, like maybe worst case scenario, where the wood ends, and then there's like a little divot where the dirt is.
Dude, you're good per perspective because it's like the soft spot where they dug the ramp into.
Look at how his back wheel gets kicked up from it, right? And his front wheel just blasted right into that. He did put a divot in that front rim. I saw somebody posted a photo.
You would know from experience riding Harleys. How much do you think that bike would weigh?
Mine is 500, but it's a 750. So that one's got to be at least that, you know what I mean? Maybe 550, 600. I'm not really sure.
That's what I kept telling people. I'm like, that's a 600-pound bike plus a 150-pound or a 200-pound human.
Yeah. But Colby's
Colby's not thin.
No.
He's packing on his dad weight.
I stand when I jump, but my ramp also has a tiny bit of like curve the whole time.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of transition.
I think that you can go a little further with not quite as much speed because you get that tiny bit of lift.
I see.
That's my
Harleys to me, no joke. Like, if you're riding anything on a Harleys, they're
not meant for that.
They're kind of they're POSs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're like nuts. It's like a bunch of rattling parts, and then I'm like, dang, dude, that's so gnarly if people are doing this.
I like to say Harley is like, why would we thread the frame when you can just use a nut and a second wrench on the other side, you know, no matter where it's tucked in behind.
Yeah. Honestly, that's pretty good. I should say, as easy as they can take as many shortcuts as you can building this bike.
We've been doing this for 200 years, bro. All right? We're not threading the frame now, okay? We're still going to have a separate oil tank, and you're going to drain it out of this little hose. Like, okay? Just settle down.
All maintenance needs to come back to our facility. It's like John Deere tractors. The only people that can work on them are John Deere.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's nuts. But, yeah, that event was one-off, to say the least.
Dude. Well, he's done two now, so you're wrong.
Two off. Off. They're two off.
But
dude, honestly,
I got
two wrongs can't make it right.
Two rights. Do they make a wrong? No. They make a hell yeah.
Honestly, that's so cool that he's doing that kind of stuff for his community, because that area out there, they don't get events like that out there. They got to travel to LA, Bakersfield, big cities, Vegas.
And one day, he's going to be jumping someplace like that too. And everybody's going to be like, I watched him in a field over here in the desert.
You nailed it. If people want to see that kind of stuff, and it's a niche that people will want to, like, if you don't ride motorcycles, you still want to see somebody jump a motorcycle over something. So it's like, he's going to be doing who knows, he might be doing some Vegas show out there soon. There's possibilities are endless for that situation.
So that's my whole thing too, even with why I wanted to do the Harley jump, is nobody was really doing it at that point. And more people can relate to a Harley jumping straight than they can to triple backflips or, heart attack backflips. I did this stuff for a long time, and they're at a point where I'm like, I can't relate to body burials and all this stuff.
Dude, you're crushing it though. That's honestly what you guys need to do. Colby can do the distance stuff, and then you need to be a part of
Jump it on fire.
You need to be a part of the program, a part of the show.
Well, I would enjoy that.
People would honestly love that. Like, the perspective of, like, that's the only thing when I was driving home back to my house. I'm like, dang, that would have been fun to watch Clint go through the firewalls. And I know Chuck would. That's why Chuck showed up. He thought you were doing some stuff. And I'm like, that stinks that it's so windy.
Yeah. We were trying not to start which sounds lame, you can't drive through fire, and this guy jumped with his mom on the back. But it wasn't about me. It was about not starting a wildfire and burning SpaceX down.
Dude, I think they were just pissed because you were going to do the firewall. I think Rahville's mom was going for the record.
Why would that have anything to do with each other?
No, I'm saying she was going to go for the real firewall record.
Oh.
She wants the record.
Oh.
No, I'm just joking.
She could have hopped on. She had all that leather suit on, ready to go.
What should have happened is she should have just got on the back of your bike, and then she has two separate records.
Yeah. We could have tandem firewalled it.
What about the fact we had a special guest out there, Chuck or others popped up out there, and I feel like the reason why he came out there to make sure his flipping of the Harley didn't go down.
I don't think so, but maybe.
That's pretty crazy that Chuck at one point tried to flip one of those bikes.
He did. I mean, he came off, but...
They flew off the back, that's why I said that, but it still counts.
I count it. He came around to his wheels.
Hey, in early 2000s, that counts.
Yeah, if you're the first guy to do something, I'm sorry. Like, in my opinion, Hart landed the first backflip.
That's oh yeah, he did. Yes, that's true.
People say he didn't, but I feel like the only people that say he didn't flipped right after him and want to be the first person to flipped.
Yeah, it's sort of like exactly. It was, remember, it's sort of like no, it's not like that. I was going to say it's like the 360 with Brian and Travis. But then, remember, Deegan heard of it, and then he went out there and did it.
Well, yeah, he caught a glimpse of it in an edit on YouTube. And then after that, everybody was very hush-hush and never showed anything.
And then the modern-day version of that same drama was Josh Hill seeing Axel Hodges front flip stoppie on YouTube, and then him landing it first and posting it to the content. That almost set the world on fire.
That's a good episode.
We have some stuff to talk about.
Wonder if there's any other tricks like that. There's 3 right there we could do an episode on.
Hey, honestly, Clint, you and I could pull this off. We could be the first person to pull this off. No joke.
What?
We could have Rahville on one end, and then we could have Axel on the other. Or we could do any other stuff like that. We could have like because Josh and Axel are cool now. They're like homies now. So we can literally have Josh's perspective and then have Axel's perspective and just be like, what were you guys thinking between that?
Ooh, you just want to stir it back up. No.
Honestly,
no, Axel's cool with everybody. Colby's cool with Axel as well. He doesn't care.
Honestly, Axel has... People have a wrong perspective of that kid because he's such a freaking badass dude, and he does keep to himself. In my opinion, I said a lot of opinions. Now the new modern day Todd Potter, to me, skilled guy, blows my mind, is Axel.
For sure.
And he doesn't really want any, he harnesses no bad energy, which is really cool.
Because he's doing his own thing.
He harnesses nothing. He has no resentment. He's actually one of those guys that if you actually got close to his circle, I feel like he'd be greatly beneficial. And it's not like he's like trying to where like guys are like see him and like automatically assume, oh, I'm in competition with him. Like, I'm not knocking Rahville because Rahville is the boy too, but he had a podcast recently and he was like, yeah, I'd like to have Axel come out here and do like, we'll play the game of bike. And I was thinking,
that was the Krusty podcast.
I know. And I'm like, dude, that's kind of a dummy thing to say just because.
I think that would be fun.
It would be fun, but then the thing would be like, yeah, that you could say, Axel could say the same thing and like, yeah, pull up to my spot. But Axel, maybe I'm wrong.
But he said that. He said, we'll go to one spot and then go to the other spot.
If there's one guy that has those skills and just overall, like if I'm making a video game like Madden and you have a rating like, oh, that guy's a 98. Axel literally is a 99, and then the next rider next to him, I'd probably put in like the 92 range. He's
That's
on a
Colby.
different. It's like the Patrick Evans type stuff to where like he's on a completely different level than his competition, and he knows that. And I think that bothers a lot of other people because he's still quiet and he is somewhat humble about it.
How much is that other people not wanting to, like Colby said on that same podcast, that he doesn't want to feel like he's biting his tricks or like just copying him? So other people, that kid Thomas now in South Carolina, he started doing a bunch of like manual stuff or whatever. But the only people that could do it have probably not really touched it because of that same reason. You
know what? And you just touched on something else. Two topics on that. Speaking of Nick Thomas, we were talking about being on a different level of whip, Patrick Evans. That's the one human being right now that's on scene that is honestly encroaching very much on, he's not on the level quite yet, but he's encroaching very, like if this is Patrick, it's going like this. Patrick's elevating slowly, but then Thomas is going.
Yeah. And Wyo's right there with them as well. He's just behind the two of them.
I sent this video over to one of my buddies. I think it might have been Hill, and I'm like, this blew my mind. He did a one hand. He's letting his hand off doing a whip, and he's just floating his hand, but he's cranking the whip one-handed.
Yeah.
And then he landed without the hand on, so he's one-handed lander, but it was stylish. I'm like, whoa. He was doing that hand swag like the wheelie boys do, but in the air in a whip.
I don't have that much soul
to
pull that one. This brings up a good point, though. Should you have two different whip contests?
Boom, Clint. I'm not kidding. Another hot topic. I was just saying this. I'm like, now that you got like the Levi Ferris kids on the Surons. Then you have Patrick, the Leverton's not on that level.
Think about it. The people that we just mentioned in our top 3 in the whip game right now are all on electric bikes.
You nailed it. I believe, and people are going to hate on me for saying it, but it's like I don't believe that. There's going to be a time or place to where they're going to be like, you know what? We're going to have an e-bike whipping contest because that's going to allow the Surons to get in on the e-bikes with the e-bikes. Because, hey, what's stopping? I saw that kid flip that Suron
And then I got to thinking, I told Becker, and I said, dude, honestly, that's crazy, because if I'm a promoter and if I'm paying somebody to cruise out for a freestyle show, who do you think's going to be cheaper, to fly that Suron kid out with his Suron bike, or get you to come out with your fucking dirt 400 or your 450?
You could probably even buy him a Suron and he could just bring some suspension like we did. And now he's got a little bag.
And then you could sell that Suron instantly. So it's not such a, because selling a dirt bike, it's
way more.
Yes. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going down. But
it's an easier sell because it's a lower price point. And you can, but the other thing brings in all those kids that are riding Surons to watch the show, which, like you said, they're being ridden on the streets and stuff a lot. So that's a much bigger market.
Bam, another point that you just laid out perfectly. It basically allows more access to where, yeah, I have a Suron, I'm just going to be in a wheelie gang in the streets. And then some other kid's going to say, wow, that kid probably got to pay $1,000 for flipping that. I'm going to maybe do that.
Yeah.
So it's opening the door for a lot more. I think it's going to hurt a little bit of the freestyle guys, because guys like Becker and stuff, they're flipping and stuff like that now, are getting shows where you could call the Suron guy, pay him half as much preparation.
That's Austin.
And he's still going to do the same thing. Exactly, Austin. Austin's a good example. It's pretty crazy. It's crazy to think about that. And then the fact of the different different classes for the whip. I saw that big hill jam. Wyatt was throwing. He threw one of the nastiest whips I've ever seen on a dyno burner, which is a regular gas bike. They call it dyno burner. And he couldn't quite bring it back because Patrick gets to that level, and that engine, that e-bike engine's able to fucking get.
He needs to have shifted up by that point.
Maybe that's what it is, and they don't know that.
Ooh, that might be the new thing. But you definitely, I think that it's hard to whip if you're not at the top of the gear as well. So you kind of have to be wrapped in second and then shift third to bring yourself back on a super ridiculous one. And I suck at whips. So please correct me if I'm wrong, because I was not that good.
No, honestly, Clint, I've never heard anybody with the whip that's shift up perspective. You might be onto something. This might be something someone might hear and be like, holy fuck, I might try that.
Well, it's twofold. It's definitely that you don't have the gyro in the motor that you have to spin. Okay, so that's a lot less to have to turn. You know when you take a bicycle wheel and you spin it and then you go like this? Now think about having a 450 and all the chains and the cams and everything spinning in the same direction. I know. Go ahead. So that I think is why when it's wound up more, it wants to spin more freely, because it's you're breaking that inertia a little bit. But if you don't have it at all, it's better. Then you can rev the thing to the moon like you're in sixth gear, which is going to want to pull you back harder. So I think it's two things why the electric bikes are whipping so much bigger right off of the bat.
Dude, I like your perspective that you had on that, because it opened up my mind. I'm like, dang, dude, I never really thought about that shifting up. You can literally, maybe that's the way these guys are going to beat Patrick. They hit you with the Ryan Dungey shift up with the hand in a whip.
Upside down. Bah.
Tap it like this. But that's their only chance at the current moment, because Patrick and, like you were saying, I like that you brought Tom and Sonis into it, because I forgot how badass of a whipper that guy was.
Yeah, and that's not saying that Julian Van Stippen and Tom Parsons, those guys are still amazing. I think that it's just I think if those guys jumped on an electric bike.
Tom Van Stippen is very much on the highest level right now too. I said Tom Van Stippen. He's the mountain biker. I love. By the way, speaking of Tom Van Stimpen, that guy has huge motivation. That guy's he's an animal.
I thought you would combine Tom Parsons and Julian Van Stiven, is what I thought.
Okay, Julian and Tom. That was better. And even better. Tommy boy, can you believe how badass Tom is, honestly? Like, if he wasn't going through the situations with his injuries right now, Tom would be Tom's still at the highest level.
I love the guys that are just like Chuck and Tom, that are just very like sensible looking guys, and when you talk to them, they're very sensible, and then they're just like maniacs on their machines.
They're sensible, but what doesn't make sense is what their age and what they look like. They look like they're in their 30s and they're in their 40s.
I know, but I'm just talking riding wise. Like, I've always said, if you had a row of people, like a lineup, and you were like, pick out the most unassuming badass in the lineup, it would always be Chuck, and you would never pick Chuck.
1,000%. I've said it for years and years and years. I ran a joke all the time for years with Chuck. I'm like, you literally are the most unassuming badass there is. Because Chuck has done some things on a dirt bike that a lot of people will never even do, and they never even seen. So for instance, Clint, he shows up the Rahville event, and all those young riders, all those young people there to watch, they didn't know who the fuck Chuck was there. If you pointed out, Mac, that's Chuck Carruthers, they'd be like kind of mind blown, because he's done some crazy shit.
Dude, I don't think you can have the correct perspective on Chuck, yes, with the varial and stuff like that, but I don't think you have the correct perspective on him until you ride with him and realize how quickly he hits everything.
And
like
how he has that switch to where like he just goes off and he's just Chucky Carruthers out there.
Yeah. That's what. So when I went and rode with him at Reds and out up in Bakersfield, yep, I had ridden with him at his own spot a bunch, and I know that he looks at something like once and then he's going off of it. And I knew that the fact that he goes, Reds is small. He goes, it's all small jumps. That in my head made me realize he was just going to jump everything immediately because he's already ridden there. Yeah. So I just tucked in behind him as close as I could and just followed him off of everything. And he literally just beelined through every single jump. And I was like, I'm just following him through everything. And by the end of the day, dude, I was exhausted just from being scared from hitting new jumps, because there was like 50 jumps out there that we jumped. And I'm just like, I'm just going to follow Chuck. I feel like he knows how fast to go.
Chuck is honestly, he's such a treat, man. I'm glad you even said that, because like he is so damn unassuming. You could take him out to public and you could talk with anybody who knows anything about dirt bikes, and then you'd be like, dude, do you know who this dude is? I'm like, no. And you'd be like, this is Chuck Carruthers. They kind of, if you knew what Chuck Carruthers was about, you'd be mind blown. But then you're like, there's not
the guy with the little shorts.
his skinny jeans are basically choking his legs off, and he's done stuff like, for instance, just going to that event, Rahville's event. Not too many people know him besides yourself, myself. I would say Jay Schweitzer's one of them, and the Crusty Demons guys. We all have a different perspective than the guys out there that are 25 and under.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Because, some of those guys, it's kind of crazy, too. I'm not kidding. One of those guys, I was like, oh, it wasn't that event. It was at Hill. Okay. Oh, it was literally.
Did you go out east to Hill Jam East? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got lucky. Hill includes me. Hill throws a very, very gnarly whip competition. In my opinion, it is the second, if not the gnarliest whip competition there is during the whole year, even over X Games. You get all the X Games guys there.
Well, because they got big ass jumps.
Yeah, and then he's got the and then he's got the up and coming guys that are trying to make a name for themselves pulling up. So then you got guys that are just sending it, and that's the highest class whipping competition I've seen in the last 2 years. Last year at Hill Jam, the East Hill Jam, Wyatt was literally doing things on his gas bike I haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a gas bike. That's why he got stuck.
Yes, and Seth Beaton also. Seth Beaton's a freak on it.
Yes.
Seth is a bona fide. Seth deserves an X Games invite just based off of his consistency and how long he's been doing it.
And the fact that he just goes and is an iron worker or pipe fitter or something all week.
I believe the X Games is surely missing out on inviting underdog guys that don't have gnarly following on Instagram, and I'm not. But it's like Seth for Whip. There's Seth for Whip 1000%. Tom as soon as is getting slept on.
Yeah, for sure. He should. If he's not in this year, I don't know. I can't see how he's not gonna be.
Don't throw a competition if you don't invite Nick Tomasunis and have him paired up against Patrick.
That's right. We're calling you out, X Games.
Actually,
don't even try it.
Don't even think about it, X Games. Just call Tomasunis right now and just let Patrick Evans know he's in. And
see when ask Tomasunis, Wyo, Patrick Evans when they're available next year, and just get it scheduled. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about the other guys. And then and then X Games also focus on less goober announcing. What's going on there? They had the announcing in the broadcast last year was so bad for X Games.
Broadcast or in person?
It was like woke. It was like their woke agenda. They had a bunch of like girl like hey.
In between all this stuff. Oh, dude.
You and I need to be influencers, and I think we'd be X Games material.
Yes.
Let's start doing TikTok.
No, we just need to get this show big enough so that we can't be turned down just like Tomasunis, and then they have no choice but to bring us in and let us commentate.
Oh, dude, 100%. That's it already. I can't even believe X Games got into the 2000s without us.
Dude, they're doing themselves a big disservice.
They're cooked.
X Games is cooked. I'm gonna go to a nightclub tonight and order $1,000 bottle and have it say X Games is cooked on my sign.
X Games is the bottle service sign. X Games is cooked.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm gonna do for this. This will be our ad for this show. We're gonna just clip. I'm gonna take that and make a meme and just change it and have it say X Games is cooked.
Dude, honestly, you have crazy people that would want to be on the show, and like, dude, between me and you, we can crush this. Let's do this.
So there you go. We're announcing it. I guess it's just going to be we'll see what it's going to be named. But Skranny's the new co-host. We're going to be bringing you shows. We don't really have a plan yet. We literally just talked about before this podcast, but we're both excited about it.
Hey, we got just a good as plan as Rahville had the day of his event.
We have the same amount of infrastructure.
We're going to have some infrastructure. We might even have a brochure and let you know what times, but those times aren't exact.
Yeah. Loosely timed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may push it up, just say, screw it, we're going 2 hours early on the Harley jump.
Exactly, 2 hours early.
So that was supposed to be at 4 o'clock, and I think he ended up doing it at like 2:15 or 2:30.
Dude, it's like, yeah, and then he said the after party at that pub was like, it said like 6:30 on the brochure. They were already down there at like 3. I'm like, where's everybody going? They're like, oh, go to Dempsey's. I'm like, I'm heading home then.
Yep.
All right. That was treat.
Well, let's wrap this one up. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little behind the scenes look there at Rahville World Afternoon of World Records. So yeah, that's it. Let us know any other events you want covered, any guests you want on, anything you want to ask Skranny. Just hit us up. What?
Literally, do what he says. Anybody that you have a perspective on that you want on the show, This guy, we can make it happen. We make things happen.
That's right. We make things happen. That's how we're wrapping it.
If you guys want the Raha Axel conversation, we can get that to you.
We're getting a little bit excited here right off of the bat. All right, just settle down.
Hey, we can bring the noise. We'll do it.
We'll bring the noise, but relax Raha Axel conversation, okay? Fans. Maybe we can get it, but I don't want to come out of the gate hot like that.
Okay.
I have zero reference with Axel, and I've talked to Colby a handful of times, so
we got it.
I like your confidence.
We got it 100%. I said 100%.
Percent. That sounds promising.
That doesn't really promise much. 100%.
All right.
Yeah. I always have a super good time talking with you on everything you're doing. You crush at this stuff. So anything you can include me on, I'm down for, buddy. I'll piggyback off Clint Esposito.
That's a low piggyback.
Speaking of tandems, I'm in the setting records too, dude. How many firewalls do we got to go through?
I don't know that there's a tandem person firewall record. That's a good question. I'll mount you on. I'm going to mount you on my front fender, though. You're going to be the battering ram.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a compromised neck situation, so I'm out.
That's true. You're going to have to go in the back.
Yeah, I'm in the back, buddy. You're getting all the impact.
All right, we're really out of here this time. Comment. Okay, cool. What do you want to say?